As we discussed in a previous video, right now we are running migrations manually. That's not ideal. We can automate that part. However, let me just state this now. I don't think this solution that I'm about to show you is clean. So if you have a better solution, let me know. Laravel supports migrations. And I love this sentence from the documentation. Migrations are like version control for your database, allowing your team to modify your application's database schemes. That's essentially what migrations are. So we can write statements that makes change to our database structure. And Laravel gives us a PHP artisan migrate command that we can use. And you usually place that command in your deployment script. But as we are talking about containers, we should look for a way to run this command in Kubernetes. Let's see what Kubernetes offers. So there is an object in Kubernetes called the job. Well, a simple use case of a job is when you have to run one pod to completion and that's it. This is the simplest case for a job, but there are more advanced cases. In fact, we already saw one of these, which is our scheduler. Our scheduler is using cron job. Cron job is an object that creates jobs on a repeating schedule inside Kubernetes. So in a way, we have used jobs before, but we were relying on the cron job abstraction. For running the migrations, we are going to be using raw jobs. So this is an example of a job, and it should calculate pi up to the position 2000 and print out. It should take about 10 seconds to complete. Yeah, let's create our job manifest. So let's copy this. Go back to our infrastructure repository. And inside applications, Laravel, I'm gonna create a migrator.yaml. I'm gonna paste that code here. All right, so let's make some changes. I'm gonna call this Laravel app migrator, and the container name will be PHP. And the image, we are going to be using the same image, the named image that we already created before. So let's copy this and paste it here. We don't want this container to ever restart, and the backoff limit, let's go to the documentation. Yeah, it's the amount of retries. How many times do we want the job to retry after a failure state? We actually don't want it to retry, so let's put it as 1. And besides this, I think we also need the environment variables. So let's go back there and copy it. Now let's update our customize and place the migrator right before our web application. Alright, so let's see what customize generates for us. If we scroll up and find the job, yeah, here it is. Let's inspect it. So it's using the correct image name and version and the correct secrets. But we forgot to change the command, so let's do that. Let's go back there, update it here to be PHP. Okay, let's try it one more time. And we can see that the command is correct, the namespace was applied. And yeah, I think we're good here. So let's try this. I'm going to go back to the control panel on DigitalOcean, and I'm going to users and databases. And I actually am going to delete this database. I'm gonna recreate it. So I was logged in the application. I'm gonna refresh and it should say that there is no table users. Okay, so now let's apply the changes. The job will run and we'll see if the migration was applied. So as you can see, there is a migrator here, and we can actually inspect the status via the kubectl CLI tool as well. So let's do that. So as you can see, we had a Laravel app migrator and it apparently completed. So let's inspect it. And as we can see here, it was successful. All right, so let's get the logs. So we have a pod here for the migrator and it's completed. Let's get the logs of that pod. And as you can see, the migrations ran successfully. We can go back to the application, refresh, and the error should be gone. And we were kicked out because there is no users in the database. We should be able to sign up now. And looks like we are in the business again. So let's try something. Let's try reverting the version to 04 and see what happens. So as you can see, there is an error here. We actually can't recreate the job with the same name. So at this point, we have two options. We can either every time change the job name and we call it like V4, like this, and reapply that. So this time it won't fail because there's a new job essentially. And if we get a new version, let's see, we go back to version 5 and we update the migrator as well to version 5. So yeah, a new job will be created every time, but we have to remember to change the job version. And maybe that's a good idea for you. Like you can control when your migrations run. So you control that by just changing the name of the job. But if you don't like that, there is actually another solution, which is, don't change the name and delete the job before you actually run this. So let's see. If we actually get the jobs, we can delete them manually. kubectl delete. Let's get rid of the other ones as well. So and when we do that, the pods that the job created, they are also removed. So let's see. So yeah, we lost the migrations history. That's okay to me. I think that if the migrations fail to run, that usually requires manual interventions anyway. So yeah, I don't see why we should keep the history of failed migrations. And now if we apply it one more time with the migrator name, which means this was applied once, Kubernetes should detect that this is actually a new migrator or a new job. So we should see a created here. Yeah, it was created. So that's good. If we inspect that pod, I wanted the logs actually. So we can see that the migrations didn't run because, there was nothing to migrate. To actually delete the job before we run the script, the customize apply, we actually need a bash script. So let's create that here. So we are going to call it deploy.sh. And yeah, in this script, we are actually going to use the same command that we were using, but we are going to put that in an if statement here in bash. So we are going to say if kubectl get job. What's the job name again? So this is the job name and the namespace. This means that we are only executing whatever is inside this if this command actually works. So if there is no migrator, this command will return some value that will be evaluated to false here. So this won't actually run. And inside here, we're actually going to do kubectl, the same command that we were using actually, delete. And yeah, what we actually want is to pass this option here. This means that we only want this command to proceed after this command actually deletes the jobs that it created for the migrator. And let's add some flags here. So set-e for errors. So we want to stop this bash script like once any of these commands fail. Yeah, and here we are actually doing the kubectl apply -k. This is the command that we were using. And what else? Yeah, now we are actually going to run this command. Let me first change this to this one. So what we are doing here is we are telling Kubernetes to wait for the migrator to fit this condition of complete, and we are going to add a timeout of 30 seconds. You can actually change this wherever you want. It depends more on your database structures and the load and how long your migrations take to run. So tweak this for your own needs. So now I'm going to open the terminal and I'm going to give it execute permission to this script, and I'm going to call it, oopsie, it should be kubectl. So let's try it again. Okay, so we got the Laravel migrator here and it was successful. So the script finished. Let's actually cause a timeout here. So let's decrease this to 10 seconds. Actually, just 2 seconds, why not? And in the command, let's do something here. So we are actually going to change this to be sleep 3. So this is the command that we are going to run for the migrations. We're going to sleep 3 seconds and then run the migration. So this should actually cause the script to fail. So it timed out. Now a script, you can see here in my terminal that the error got red. So that means that the last command failed. So yeah, at this point, if you're running this deploy script in a CD environment, you should get a notification in your Slack channel or something that something went wrong. And then you can inspect and see that the job actually failed. So as you can see here, it didn't complete. And if you actually describe it, you can see more information here. So as you can see, the backoff limit was reached and yeah, the job was terminated. So let's revert the changes. Let's also revert the changes in the deployment script, I think. Yeah, let's go back to 30 again. And let's try it one more time. So as you can see, the migration finished successfully because the condition was met. So we can actually get the jobs now. And if we describe it, it was successful. And yeah, that's it. One thing to notice here is that our migrations, they are actually running as part of our deployment script. And if you remember the previous time, a few videos ago, our deployment strategy is set to rolling update. So that means that new versions of our application will be rolling out to the cluster as the migrations are being applied to the database. So we have a small window of time where the code might be new or old and the migrations might be applied or not. Yeah, you have to keep that in mind when you're coding. So stuff like if you drop a column from the database or if you add a new column and you want to use, you have to keep that stuff in mind and make sure you handle the exceptions there or feature flag it or however you want to handle it. We could switch the order of the migration and maybe run it after the new version is live, but that actually doesn't solve the problem. Either way, you still have the same problem. So you might have new code using the old database structure and all that. So yeah, this is stuff that you have to care about when you're doing continuous delivery. That's what I wanted to share with you today. In the next video, we are going to set up a CI/CD pipeline for our application based on Docker images and Kubernetes. We'll see how we can leverage Git and GitHub's pull requests to add some code reviews to our delivery process. So yeah, stay tuned.